The worst part isn't always waking up exhausted with legs that feel like lead, or that my memory is shot and every muscle in my body is screaming. The worst part isn't even that everyone thinks the problem's in my head. The worst part of chronic fatigue syndrome is missing my life.
Chronic fatigue syndrome is a debilitating condition characterized by a minimum of 6 months crushing mental and physical exhaustion, and we have no idea what causes it. We don't even have a good idea how many people even have it. The Centers for Disease Control estimates that as many as 7.5 million Americans currently suffer from it. And we as physicians have very little to offer patients in terms of relieving those symptoms. So this is one of the conditions I'm always keeping an eye out for in terms of new treatments. And one of the latest they just discovered? Chocolate. Evidently, Montezuma II, who reigned the Aztec Empire 500 years ago, noted this divine drink builds up resistance, fights fatigue. A cup of cocoa permits people to walk for a whole day without food. Not willing to take the emperor's word for it, it was put to the test. I'm always skeptical of industry-supported research, but it was actually a pretty good study. At first glance, it looked like they were basically saying, eat 3 chocolate bars a day for 8 weeks and call me in the morning. But it was actually a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial, which is about as good as you can get. The mad scientists over at Nestle took white chocolate, dyed it brown, and then added some sort of fake chocolate flavor, such that people couldn't tell if they were eating the real chocolate or the fake. Comparable amounts of sugar and fat, but one had cocoa solids, phytonutrients, and the other basically didn't. So they were able to put people on one and then switch them over without anyone knowing to see if their chronic fatigue symptoms got better or worse. And there was a significant improvement in the real chocolate group, meaning it apparently wasn't just the yummy taste of chocolate, but the action of the cacao phytonutrients. Of course, no one should be eating 3 chocolate bars a day, but you can get the equivalent dose of cocoa solids, the equivalent dose of those wonderful cocoa phytonutrients, by consuming 2.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder a day. You can put it in coffee, you can make a chocolatey smoothie, or, my personal favorite, you can blend it in a high-speed blender with frozen cherries or strawberries, a touch of non-dairy milk, vanilla extract, and some erythritol or some dates, and you have instant, decadent chocolate ice cream. Low-fat, low-calorie, no cholesterol, no added sugar, chocolate ice cream. The more you eat, the healthier you are, whether or not you're suffering from chronic fatigue.
Smith, and although I may appear like a healthy young man to you, please be assured I am not. Chronic fatigue syndrome has stolen the last 13 years of my life and continues on a daily basis to deprive me from any semblance of a normal life. Before I became ill with a severe case of mono during freshman soccer tryouts, I was a 4-sport athlete, a 4.0 student, and a typical all-American 15-year-old boy. During a time in my life that is developmentally vital, I spent over half of high school sick, in bed, with CFS. Not only did I miss out on the academic aspects of high school, but the important socialization that occurs with adolescence as well. I could not participate with my friends playing sports. I was too sick to attend homecoming. I did not enjoy the luxury of having a high school sweetheart. This was not due to the inability to interact socially, nor the lack of desire to. This was due to the physical constraints that CFS placed upon me. During my late teens and early 20s, it took nearly 6 years to achieve my Bachelor of Science degree. Not because I was the cliché undergrad, floundering along, afraid to enter the real world, but because I was forced to withdraw from classes and take lighter course loads, all because of the debilitating symptoms of CFS. Again, during a developmentally important time in my life, I did not have the liberty of participating in all the activities that young college students typically do. It was physically impossible for me to go on dates, to attend sporting events, or to go to college parties with my friends. Because of CFS, I was a prisoner in my own body. Following college, I began working full-time at a large investment company. In less than 1 year, I had suffered a full relapse of CFS and was forced to resign due to my disability. I love my work and would give anything to return to it. However, CFS has continued to ravage my mind and body. making this prospect an impossibility. I have aspirations of one day attending medical school. On the surface, I may appear as a sound candidate. I have satisfied all the major prerequisites, my GPA is solid, I have notable recommendations, etc. However, I must be a realist. The rigors of medical school would most certainly wreak havoc on my already CFS weakened body, causing this dream to remain just that, a dream. As a young American man, it is disheartening to not be able to participate in all the things that embody the American dream. I watch from the sidelines as my friends and peers embark on their careers, get married, purchase their first homes, begin families, etc. While my peers are afforded this luxury, I am relegated to living in my parents' basement. While most of my demographic are self-sufficient, I am not, and likely will never be. Make no mistake, this is not by choice. I want to work. I want to be successful. I want to one day have a family. I want to be a contributing member of society. I want all the things that CFS has deprived me of and has caused me to be a spectator to. But given the current state of my health, as well as the inadequate response by the federal government, these things remain unattainable and will likely remain that way, unless this committee, the DHHS, the NIH, as well as the CDC increase their efforts and treat CFS as the real and disabling disease that it is. At the age of 24, I was diagnosed as being hypogonadal, secondary to CFS, likely the result of extended and frequent viral infection, according to my endocrinologist as well as my immunologist. As a young 20-something, I had to make the decision of beginning testosterone replacement therapy, which I am sure you realize is a lifelong commitment. Many of you are also aware of the implication this decision can have on my ability to father children in the future, in addition to the long-term consequences to my health. I do not need to explain the mechanism of how testosterone replacement oftentimes terminates the male body's ability to perform spermatogenesis. However, I do need to explain how difficult and unnecessary a decision of that magnitude is for a young man at the age of 24. I do need to explain how difficult and unfair the decision to cryopreserve semen is for a young man at the age of 24. Please try to put yourself in my shoes. It is not easy to initiate a conversation with a potential girlfriend explaining that due to CFS, I may never be able to father children. And even if a woman is able to overlook all the other significant concerns that accompany CFS, breaching the topic of parenthood through in vitro fertilization is colossal. I have had to make these choices. I have had to initiate these conversations. This is my reality. This is CFS. Over the past 13 years, I have dealt with the myriad of symptoms that compose CFS. Beginning as a 15-year-old, I have been forced to navigate through high school, then college with its layers of bureaucracy, the tangled mess of the American insurance complex, differing physician opinions, treatment options, etc. All while being significantly disabled by CFS. I have a tackle box filled with medication. Just traveling here from Omaha, Nebraska was a struggle, filled with airport pat-downs and searches because of the medication that allows me to possess some inkling of normalcy in a life otherwise plagued with CFS and all of its symptoms it entails. I have a 3-inch thick binder that is filled with the past 13 years of my medical history. And please, lest you jump to the conclusion that depression is the cause of all my woes, know this, I'm not depressed. I have been evaluated for depression on a number of occasions. I am frustrated. Frustrated with my health, frustrated with the lack of treatment options, and frustrated with the government's inferior response to such a devastating illness. This is my life. This is what CFS looks like. Thank you.